This is the Superhero Sidekick Coaching Podcast. I'm Joel Smith.
I'm Joe Baker. We're not here to be the superhero. We just want to be your sidekick and help you along in building your business, building your not-for-profit. Let's help you grow it fast and really scale.
Be sure to check us out on Facebook and visit us at superherosidekick.com. Hello, everybody. I'm with a couple of really great guys here. Joe Baker, how you doing?
Hey, doing good. I'm excited to introduce my guest today, who called him up last night, and I said, "Hey, Ben, you up for doing a podcast?" And he said, "Heck yeah, I'm in." And so we got him up extra early to do a podcast this morning. Ben is a real estate entrepreneur and really a real estate just guru. He's done everything from flipping to vacation rentals to regular rentals, and I've literally invested millions in real estate with him now, and I think we've both made a fortune together doing some different stuff. And so so I'm excited to introduce Ben. He's a super boss kind of guy. He's great on a snowmobile, and but unfortunately he can't come on the sled trip this year that we're going on in a couple of weeks. However, Joel is coming on the snowmobile trip.
I'm in. I'm all, I wasn't going to do it at first, but then I was able to move one of my arrangements around. And so I'm all good. Never done it before. So Joe, you're going to have to save me.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to take extra care of you, Joel. So back to you, Ben. I'd like to just know, where is the money in the market right now? It's a crazy, crazy market, up and down. It's like, or actually not down, just mostly just up. My neighbor just made a fortune selling their house. But where's the money to be made in the real estate market right now?
Well, great question. And again, thanks for having me, Joe. That was one heck of an introduction. So thanks, man. Right now, it seems like as long as you've owned a house between 3 and 5 years, you're probably going to make a pretty good chunk of change. And that may even be up in the six figures. So, but I would say most people right now that are seeing the highest returns are people that have had some sort of income property, whether it's vacation rental, just a duplex, or if you own a single family house just in and around downtown or on the east side out in Powers. That's where we're seeing the craziest returns right now, even double digits of appreciation per year. So we'll see how long that lasts, but that's what we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years right now.
And just so you know, most people who are listening to this have no idea where Powers is. You're talking in Colorado Springs, Colorado, where we live.
Yes.
And,
yes.
And what's wild is in the entire world, we live in probably one of the fastest growing market. Is it the fastest or one of the fastest? Or which is it?
We're actually both. So we have one zip code that is the hottest real estate market in the country, in Security, which is kind of between here and the city of Fountain. And then the rest of Colorado Springs, we're like the 5th hottest growing market in the country. So it gets crazy. And we have record low inventory right now. I think we have like 111 houses on the market with 6,000 realtors and 750,000 people living here. So it gets a little cutthroat.
So this is how crazy it is. My neighbor bought their house for $515,000 2.5 years ago. And just this week sold that house for $880,000. And so it's a pretty big spread on that. And my mind is kind of blown because my house sits right next to theirs, and and we bought ours for less than they bought theirs for, and I'd say we even have a better view. So and a better backyard.
Yeah, you for sure have a better view and a better backyard, and probably just a better house. Just realtor speaking. Yeah. So I'm sure you're probably excited there, but yeah, and you also bought in a great neighborhood that was poised for future growth and appreciation, and everything that's getting built out over there. It's a good area.
Yeah. When we bought our house, Joel, it was just, it was on a dirt mound. There was no houses around it, but we had just an epic view and a framed house, and built it out and developed out our, whole backyard, and just had a ball doing all that. And now the whole neighborhood's in, and there's a park in, and it's just like all coming together, and there's all these, other amenities coming into the area, and so it's kind of like we bought out in the country and now we're in the suburbs.
Yeah, nice, nice. You'll be tempted to sell it sometime, won't you?
I know I'm already tempted to sell.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Ben, when it comes to flipping, I know you've done a lot of flipping too. What would be your advice for someone who's starting and getting into flipping?
Good question. So first off, I would say align yourself with somebody with experience. One of the worst things you can do is, and I'm not trying to say this with any bias at all, but one of the worst things to do is try and start talking with a realtor who has never flipped or hasn't had experience with multiple clients flipping for a long time. Because there's just so many ways to lose money and calculate. There's so many costs involved that you just wouldn't know unless you've been in it or help people go into it. So, yeah, you need somebody with experience, and then also somebody knows how to navigate the market and find properties that aren't necessarily on the MLS. Because again, we're dealing with such a short inventory level right now that if I wasn't being able to find properties that weren't on the market or was able to go to listing appointments and just get them before, buy those houses immediately, I wouldn't be flipping houses right now. So,
Yeah, so is there any way that, so getting into flipping is pretty hard. You really would have to find a way to get houses before they're on the MLS. How does someone do that? How do they get on these listings?
well, again, so like myself, I advertise on different avenues to get off market deals. And I've just been doing it so long too. Like 2 weeks ago, a realtor I've known for 6 years just called me and said they had a piece of crap and they didn't want to hit the market for the liability. And so 7 days later, I closed on it. And so, and now I sold that to one of my clients. And so just by working with me, they had an opportunity to get a house that they never would have gotten to begin with. Because I will tell you right now, again, the competition's so fierce, even for house flipping. There's a lot of people, again, getting it for the first time that you're just having to get in a bidding war with idiots on these houses that hit the market. And then by the time you close on it, you realize, oh crap, I just paid 50 grand too much for this thing. Now that we've started opening up, because a lot of times people are waiving inspections to be able to be the ones who are able to get this under contract, to beat out other offers. And then again, by the time you tear a wall down, you realize they have a foundation issue or the sewer line has collapsed, or, there's a multitude of different things that can make this go way over budget, and costs and materials seem to be going up, 3 to 5% every single month, with everything we have going on with our country. And so it's a lot to navigate right now.
Yeah. So you're saying someone could lose a lot of money getting into flipping right now too, huh?
Oh yeah. Then there's somebody else on in one of our Facebook groups was just thought, they just went bankrupt after 3 houses. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Whew.
Hey, Ben, I got a question. So
absolutely.
So I know that there's, a lot of different ways to flip houses. And, one of my business partners, he flips a lot of houses, but he owns a lot of property. So he owns, I think he owns, 50 or 60 units, apartment buildings and different things. And so I think he's doing that more than he used to flip a lot. And so my question is, how do you know if it's more beneficial to buy, fix up, and flip versus buy and hold and lease it out?
Sure. One of them is I started doing this a little bit more recently too, just like your friend. And one of the reasons is, again, because of the lack of inventory, some of the margins aren't there that they used to be. So it was pretty easy to make 50, 60,000 minimum per house, just a couple of years ago. And now a lot of people are flipping houses, make 15 or 20,000. However, if you're not turning around selling that immediately, then you're not, once you start taking out real estate commissions and closing costs, then, at that point, you're getting back up to that 50, 70,000 margin in equity. And it makes it a lot easier to then refinance that property into a long-term rental. And again, with the double-digit appreciation we've been seeing in our city, you hold it a year, you're making an extra $70,000, just next year on top of the rental income you pulled in the next year. So it does make a lot of sense. And that's why I've started holding more. And my goal is in the next 5-6 years is to get between 50 and 70 rental units as well. So I like what he's doing. He's a smart man.
Yeah, we call him the slumlord. Some of his apartments are not but he makes a ton of money.
No, I try and do a little bit nicer. So anytime I buy something, I buy it and I remodel it as if it's a flip. That way, if something happens, I can sell it immediately for full retail.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then usually when you do that too, I'm able to finance in everything's like new. So I get a wave like hopefully 10 years of maintenance costs because everything's new. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of my strategy. And so depending on who I work with, I can help teach them, depending, whatever avenue they want to go down, whether it's mine and make everything super nice, or, just get these properties and try and put as little money into them as possible for a few years and then turn around and sell them again. So
Yeah.
How many deals do you do a year, Ben? Like, how many actually transactions do you do per year?
Last year I did 55 as a realtor due to transaction brokerage. So a good chunk of those were just working both sides. The year before that, I probably did, I don't know, mid 40s, which puts me in like the top 5% or higher real estate agents in the state, and even higher than that in the country. There's only a handful of realtors who are single realtors that don't have teams of people working underneath them, multiple agents that sell more than me. So I'm pretty proud, pretty lucky to be able to have been in this as long as I have and get kind of the volume I do, especially because I am referral based only. So
Yeah.
Well, here's a question for you. I got a friend who wants to get into vacation rentals, and they call me up. They say, "How do I get into vacation rentals?" And we've been looking at some houses, but we don't want to pay a realtor. What's your how I mean, and I kind of laughed at them. But what would you say to them?
Well, I would just show them that they're pretty clear-cut national stats. I've been around for a long time, and they come out every year. And I want to say last year, the average seller who used a real estate versus real estate agent versus trying to go for sale by owner, they profited an extra $17,000 on average after paying their realtor. So
wow.
A good realtor, and that's a key word, good realtor, knows how to get on the market, leverage other offers, and also network it to other realtors who are closers, who are going to bring in a buyer, pay top dollar, and make sure that we all make it to the closing table.
Heck yeah.
I experienced that myself too. Yeah. Back in what, 2001. So we were selling our first house, and I decided I was going to sell it myself. And so, I went to this person that kind of helps, for a small fee, helps to kind of get you set up to sell it yourself. And then, so we thought, it's pretty safe. We'll just go ahead and buy our other house, and because we should be able to sell, the market was good and everything. And then, so we bought our other house, and then 9/11 happened. And everything shut down. And so here we found ourselves like with 2 house payments, and so I'm trying to sell this thing, and and it just. But meanwhile, there's this realtor in town that he would call me every couple of weeks, says, "Hey, I see you're trying to sell that house, and let me know if you need me to help." I'd say, "Nope, I don't need your help. I'm gonna do it." So finally, like almost a year later, he's been calling me about once every month, just asking me about it. And then eventually I just told my wife, I said, all right, if he calls one more time, because he was annoying. He was ticking me off. He's like, I told him, dude, just stop bothering me, So I told my wife, if he calls one more time, I'm going to hire him, because if he's that diligent, that he's going to get it sold. Well, sure enough, he called, and I said, all right, dude, you're hired. And then he had it sold in 2 weeks, just like that, for higher than what I was asking for. It's like, oh man, what an idiot. So I learned my lesson. I'll never do that. I'll probably never try to sell anything again without representation. I just don't think that's so we need people like you for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'll tell you too, I learned the hard way as well. Like just when I was flipping houses before I learned the value of realtors, when I was wholesaling flipping houses before I got my license. So and it was good. I was able to watch, because that was right when the market was down, and people were some people were flipping and wholesaling 100 houses a year, and I was able to sit back and watch what a lot of people did wrong and what a lot of people did right, and I was able to carry that into my career as a real estate agent as well a couple of years later. So
what's the best way to lose a lot of money right now, or just like, or maybe not even right now, like just give your advice of, and maybe share a story of where you've taken a huge loss, learned some lessons.
Okay. So Yeah, I mean, it is very easy to get caught up in bidding wars right now. You get a house that there might be one little key factor about that you love, and you think you're never going to see that again anywhere else in the other house, and then the next thing you know, there's 5 other offers on it, and it can be easy to just get caught up into it, and you want to win that bidding war, this is why I tell people now, don't get in bidding wars with idiots, because next thing you know, and sometimes these decisions have to be made in 15 minutes, and you can't really sit there and think on it. And so next thing you know, you're agreeing to pay 50 grand more than you felt comfortable with even 4 hours ago.
Wow.
Just because you wanted to get the house. And so that's one way. And so you're paying for a house for more than it's appraised for. And that's why we have a thing called appraisal gaps. And again, now you've taken out 10 or 20 grand out of your savings account just to get a house. You're paying that much more than it's worth. And again, a lot of people are inspecting houses. But on the flip side of that, I'll give you a good story of the house I lost the most money on. You guys should get a kick out of this. So again, I probably got a little bit of bidding war on this house and cottage downtown that I love the location. Thought I was going to keep it forever. It's long-term rentals, but they both the foundations were completely shot, and I knew this most likely. I knew there was at least going to be foundation work, but it turned out, one of them, basically the small house didn't even have a foundation. It was just old 10 by 12s and railroad lumber sitting on dirt. Which again, you can't sometimes find out during inspection period, because sometimes you have to rip the house open to actually find this out. And this was the case on this one. So came up with the best plan, decided, all right, we're going to dig underneath this, and we're going to do a basement under. We're going to do 10-foot ceilings on this little shotgun house, which ended up being a really cool idea. And so about a month later, we're digging down, we got the engineered plans, and I get a call in the morning, like 9 a.m. and I'm in my office. My contractor calls me, and I can tell he's like hesitant. He's kind of stuttering. He's like, "Oh, you better come down here." I'm like, "Oh man, what happened?" He's like, "Well, something happened in the house." I'm like, "What? What do you mean something happened in the house?" And the contractor did not put up enough support beams, like steel posts under the house to hold it up while we're doing the foundation. So the entire front half of this house apparently was held together by like 5 nails at the time, slid off in one piece and fell 16 feet in a hole. And just like, again, in one piece, and just sat there like while the rest of it was sitting up. And it almost looked like the house from the Wizard of Oz when it lands down. I was afraid I was going to see a pair of red shoes under this thing when I get there. And so we rented this massive tractor and wrapped chains around this house through the windows and tried to pull up half this house with the tractor outside this big hole, which just did more damage. And ultimately we had to just demolish this thing in the hole. And again, and a week later, again, there was really no way to salvage the back house. So I ended up having to build a brand new house from scratch, which which was a 6-figure mistake. So that was
quite literally the definition of a money pit, huh?
Yeah, it literally was. Yeah, the definition of a money pit. So, and that was the only house ever. I've had houses where I only made like 5 grand on them before, and not, they just weren't really money makers, but that's the only one I've ever lost money on, and that was a big one.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And then did you sell that in the end, or you keeping that as rental?
No, I sold that. It's such a loss on it that I couldn't, I had so much more money into it that to even refinance it, I would have then had to have brought so much more money to the table that I'd already put into it, that it actually was cheaper just to sell it and take the loss. Yeah. So, and then I was at least able to carry that loss through on some tax returns to help, recover some of it as well.
And that strategy is actually called loss. Isn't that loss harvesting? Like,
yeah, actually, I haven't heard that term, but I really like it. So that sounds right. Yeah, I mean, when you're doing this too, there's a lot of different ways to write off losses or depreciation on properties, and so sometimes you can kind of figure out what you need to make in a year. Because like last year, I could have written off a bunch of extra money, but you got to think forward, like your friend does, Joel. And if you want to start picking up buy and hold units, not every year you can't you can't write off every penny depreciation loss in real estate. You can if you want to keep buying, because then you just won't qualify for the next one.
Well, I mean, that's the secret of like Donald Trump. I mean, we all want to go find Donald Trump's accountant now because he's so good at harvesting the losses. And that's actually a stock term. So like you have a stock portfolio, and you want to sell like let's say, once your Bitcoin stock's really high, but your what's low right now, your commodities are really low, let's say. You sell a commodity, let's say you sell corn when it's down because it's in the red. And what happens is when it's down, you sell it, you take a loss, but then a month later you buy something very similar to it. Like, you can't buy the same stock, but you buy something very similar to it that tracks the same way. And so you're still in almost the exact same position, but you've taken the loss, which helps overcome the gains that you've picked up on the other side. And in the same way, people are doing that with real estate, and that's really how Donald Trump did it.
I like it.
So, yeah. So, any other secrets or tips or tricks for our people out there who are either in real estate or getting into it? What are some other things that you'd recommend?
Well, first off, I'd say one of the best things you can do right now is maybe just grab coffee with myself or a realtor like me and just go over what your future goals are. Or if you're really at the very beginning stages and just, again, listen and said, hey, I'd love to get something in real estate, then it just helps for, we can sit down and figure out what that path may be and the best way to get in there. Because the fastest way to truly build wealth, I believe, in this country for the average person and just most people in general is through real estate if you do it correctly. But the first thing you got to do is make that big step. And a lot of people get intimidated by real estate or think that they don't have an avenue right now to get into it. But that's not always the case. There's very creative ways to get into it. And the first thing you got to do is just make that first leap in. Because even if you can't buy an investment property right now, again, first way to build wealth is get your first primary residence. So
yeah, like I think what you're saying is really true. Like it's not about going to find a realtor that's going to sell you something. It's about finding the realtor that you want on your team, somebody that really kind of fully understands what you want to achieve, what you want to do, and then gets very focused on it. And I feel like you and I have been through so much. Like we, earlier on, you'd keep showing me properties, and I said, yeah, that's not on brand. Yeah, that's not on brand. That's not our focus. That's not our focus. And then you've kind of honed in on it. And now, when you send me properties, it's really close to what I'm looking for. And so, Ben knows I'm always looking. There's never a day when I'm not looking. So
that's true. I always have an eye out for adventure homes.
Yeah,
always.
So we've done a lot of transactions together now. And let me say something about that too. I find that the vacation rental market is really awesome for a couple of reasons. It's getting harder and harder to get into it. All the cities are limiting it. All the HOAs are limiting it. And if you are in it, it's just awesome because the rates, we keep raising our rates as the city keeps cutting out more and more houses out of off vacation rentals. And when we started, it was just, we rented out our own house. Well, most people in Colorado Springs can't even do that now because of the rules, and so it's really an exciting time to try to figure this out before it even becomes more regulated. But the first thing you want to do is find a realtor that really can understand your goals and mission and who can support you in that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It's awesome.
Man, you guys are making me want to buy some more houses.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, in Colorado Springs, you just buy a house, you sit in it for a couple of years, and you make a couple $100,000. And so that's what's wild about here
right now.
Yeah. And hopefully it looks like it's going to be like that for another, at least, for the, until there's some kind of tragic event, right?
Well, even then, I'll say, even if you don't live here, I have investors too, that don't live here, and they own multiple rental houses. And it's because of our projected just growth in our city. We're always within the top 10 best cities to live, always. And then even during the height of the recession, Colorado Springs was actually the #1 economy in the country, and Denver was number 3. And one of the reasons why we're so insulated from such a major crash compared to places you saw in Phoenix or Florida is because of our military bases. So we have such a large percentage of our population that are going to get paid every 2 weeks, no matter what. and that really helps prop up the local economy.
Wow.
So, and now we have stuff like Space Force and everything, and so we're getting we're turning into a bit of a tech hub too, and so we're projected to be the largest county in the state within 10 years. So
yeah, and I think a lot of people who want to work from home with a view of the Garden of the Gods out their back window.
Yeah,
or
or Pikes Peak in general.
Yeah,
it's really nice being able to look out and actually see something up there,
Yeah.
compared to a lot of places. So you're right. We live in a beautiful state, beautiful city, with a lot of stuff we get to go and can enjoy on the weekends, the mountains and everything.
And so if somebody wants to reach out to you, Ben, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
I'd say you can give me a call, text, email. I'm with ERA Shields here in town. That's where I hang my license. But my email is bkennedy, KENNEDY @erashields.com. But again, feel free to call me as well. Sometimes stuff can get lost in translation through text. And so I usually tell my clients too, when we're negotiating, let's do it over the phone. And my cell phone is 719-310-1914. As you can tell, I love talking about this stuff. And so if anybody wants to reach out, I'd be more than happy to talk with them.
All right. Well, I really enjoyed the conversation. We'll keep it going. Maybe we'll bring you on again sometime.
Awesome.
Joe, what did you learn today?
Oh, it's good. I learned that it's a lot harder than than maybe what some people might think, and that it really requires an expert to help you through it. A lot of things that can go wrong if you don't do it right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's gonna be looking up houses later today. I know it.
Awesome. Well, hey, Joel, nice talking to you, man. Nice meeting you. And Joe, Thank you so much for having me on. It was a blast, guys.
All right. See ya. Thanks.
Bye.